Right, so I don't think we're going to get a scratchy corner today because it's already 7 o'clock and this is the first time I've been able to get onto any CB radio. This comes from David. It's a Fidelity 2000, so it's a Cybernet 134. He's bought it off eBay and he had the vendor send it straight to me for service. I bet that cheered them up. Right, so will it be possible to do it in 20 minutes? We'll find out. There we go, one Fidelity 2000. So, not to be confused with the 2001, which is still a competent set, but this is Cybernet 134, whereas the 2001 is Cybernet 002, which is the Cybernet economy chassis used in the genuine Amstrad. So, what do we need? Well, it's had a bash at the back at some time in its life, but I'm not going to take it in the organ workshop and hammer it square. We'll get our clipboard. I had most of the day doing a funeral today, and although the funeral was about 200 people there, the lady who passed away was only 69, so you tend to get much bigger congregations, and I need to be there an hour before, and warmed me out for the day, I tell you. And an increasingly cold church, as you can imagine. And all these churches I play at, they're all 1,000 years old. 2nd of March 23, Fidelity 2000. Pop the serial number on and there's no ambiguity. Notice high-low power is inconveniently at the back, but then it is on the 2001 as well. 111198005. So we've got a bit of a power lead for Cybernet. We've got a lot of a power lead for Cybernet. So yesterday's Maxcom power lead I'll put back into stores. Got some corrosion. Has it been used in a boat? And we'll plug in the extension speaker into the PA socket. That's the one mounted on the wall. And we'll plug the instrument test speaker exactly where you'd expect into the extension speaker socket when it unravels itself. I think he sent me a link to the vendor. I'll put it on 9 volts, seeing as we're not sure. And it has lit up, and it's showing 130 milliamps. We'll restart that at 13.8 volts, and now it's grinning a bit brighter. So make sure we'll have the tone on high. Dimmers works. On these it's just on the display. That's the only thing that Cobra 29 had going for it. It did dim the lamp in the meter as well. So let's see where the PA works. I'll get our standard. This hasn't got a mic with it or a power lead, so we'll get our standard replacement mic on the job. And let's go into PA. We've got mic gain, so it's either going to be on volume or mic gain or both. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, 1 2 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Is that stiff? Yeah, it works on mic gain on these. Now I had to go through the PA switch several times, so that's cleaned the contacts. It's a self-wiping contact, so a bit of lack of use. It doesn't need spraying or anything. Now it's working, it will work. So go back to CB, and we can tick PA off the list and meter lamp off the list. Right, let's go into transmit. I'll switch picture in picture on, and I can see by moving myself that's on the monitor. It is transmitting, and it is doing 2.75 watts. That's good. It gives me an indication it hasn't been messed with. That's where it's faulty. Channel 40 doesn't work. Channel 1, 2.85 watts. So just out of interest, what channel does it work up to? Let's try 37. Yeah, it works on 37. Works on 38. Works on 39. And now it works on 40. So it is doing 2.65. So we've got a VCO, I think, on the edge there. Transmit current for channel 20, 955 milliamps. The deviation, wallow, is actually very good, reasonable, 2.1. Frequency, let's go over to, where's my remote control gone for the cameras? What on earth is it doing up there? (27.79102) is hardly out at all. On transmit, the meter reads 3.5. Let's look at sensitivity. So 27.79112. Well, set it to the frequency the radio is working on. I'll set it to 05. There we go. 100 microvolts on. Very stiff volume control. I'll get the Cybernet meter on. Just put enough volume on that. And we'll turn the attenuator down. Get our 12 reading. Very good, 0.44. Get a 10 reading. 0.33. And a 20 reading, if it will do it. I'll tell you what it will. I'll tell you what, it's 1. And now we'll look at squelch. Put that on the attenuator. Squelch. So we'll turn the squelch to full. And I like it to open at 100 microvolts. So that's 10. It's coming at 30 microvolts. I'll give you an accurate reading. It's coming in at 25. So tight is 25 microvolts, which isn't quite adequate. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we'll just put it to standby at 0.3 of a microvolt. Set the squelch threshold on the radio. coming at 0.24. So it's good at the bottom end, but not so at the top end. So far, the sockets, something's coming and going. So we've either got our connector playing up. We have. Again, I'll pause the video and faff with that. Right, so having sorted that out, I know we haven't done low power yet. I'll do that when we get to it. It looks in lovely condition inside. So we'll start with the VCO, and of course, doesn't it need it? It certainly does. So with Mr. Chippy's crop clip lead for the negative, resistor 4, and it's a bit high, so let's see what it is on transmit. Yeah, it's a bit high. We'll start with receive. Go to transmit. Now, because it's interactive, that's now low. Back to receive, back to transmit. Let's go to channel 1. Should be somewhere between 1.8, 2.3, something like that. That's transmit. Yes, now spot on. So very quick reset on that, and now we'll have operation on all the 40 channels instead of it being a bit iffy on channel 40. You're going to love it. In about 15 sets time, we've got a Rotel 220, a Rotel 230 and a Rotel 240. In the meantime, we've got a Cobra emergency set, a bit like mine, but better condition. So transmit, see whether we can get a bit more out of it. Let's go over to the bright meter. So I'll keep it on the 3 watt range for now. It's a bit easier to see the differences at the low end. I'm just checking. No, I'm not. Always check, double check, because you end up doing what I just did and tuning it on channel 1. Luckily I spotted that. Right, so we're at 2.8ish. So I'm going to go over to, I've gone over to the 30 watt scale, so we're now looking at readings round there. And these need peaking, and they need doing quickly because the transmitter can't sustain the kind of power this is going to give, which is maybe as high as 5 watts for long without killing it. So that is 4 watts. My tools got stuck in there. That is peak. That is peak. Go through those again. So it's best if they will do 4.4 watts so you can balance it properly. I'm just going to go back on this one. On the other hand, it has warmed up a bit. So the idea is that we need to take this one clockwise to... I'm going to get the notes again, because if I get this wrong, I'll be going backwards and forwards again. Yeah, it's clockwise on 4. So the idea is you're supposed to be over 4.4 watts. Well, it isn't. It's 4.1. So we've got to move this clockwise till it just starts moving down. It's from the 4.1, which is there. It's now dead on 4. and then we've got to turn the green one anti-clockwise till it goes to 3.8 watts according to manual. But of course the customer is entitled to 4 watts, and so we're going to set it to 4. So again, just till it starts moving. So in this case, I'm setting the radio to like 3.95 because of the way it is. Now when this cools down, it will be doing 4 watts. It may even be doing 4.1. So that's now. I'll do these readings right now. I'll tell you what, we'll do the low power. I should have done this before because I've now affected it, haven't I? It's bob on 0.4 watts. No, it's not. It's at the back. I've flicked the wrong switch. What have I pressed then? Oh, tone low. That's not working. So just see whether it's just a matter of it being a dirty preset, or whether it needs a preset replacing. Finding I'm changing 1 in 10 and cleaning all of them these days. .400 milliwatts. So it was nil. It's now 400 milliwatts. I've the volts there, even if you can't read my writing. So we'll go back to high power. I can just bring it down that fraction now. Anti-clockwise, isn't it, folks? So it's 4 watts. Let's change channels. So it's supposed to be really between within 0.1 of a watt. So I could say it's 4.1 on channel 40, and then on channel 1 it's 4. So it's not easy to balance when it's only just doing the power that you're wanting. But that is well within. Sometimes we've not been able to get better than 0.2, so you've got 4 watts at channel 20, 3.8 at the sides. But this one is worked that way round. So the meter should now read 4. I bet it bangs across. It reads 5. Well, it isn't doing 5, so just adjust that. So remember, this is into a dummy load. If you put it on an aerial, it will be different. Doesn't mean the radio is doing more power or less power, it just will be different. So that's now 4 watt. And the current consumption now is 1.20. 1.2, yeah. Which is what you'd expect. So it was 4.6, wasn't it? And 3.6 on the other. So now it's 4 plus 4. Let's do the frequency. Yeah, I've gone the right way. There isn't a set way. I've turned it to the right and it's gone up, but the next set I do, I might turn it to the left and it goes up. There isn't a set way. So that's done. So I want the deviation. We want this feedback one in its central position. What kind of position is that in? Not the normal preset, that. Right. Whoa, oh, wrong one. Whoa, it's now too high. Let's get the oscillator. Bring that down to 2. Whoa, a little tiny bit quiet. Whoa, spot on. So as I say, it's a matter of averaging around 2.2 with an absolute peak of 2.5. You don't become louder, you become wider. So you get to a stage where it gets so wide it chops, and that's what we usually hear on 19 with the people with ridiculous deviation levels. So it's now 2.2 to 2.5 kilohertz. So that's now done. So we haven't got a mic with it. So that brings us on to the receiver. If I can turn the volume control. So we'll start by setting the detector. Now this receiver is working so well that I can't imagine that I'm going to get any improvement on it. So we'll go over to the oscilloscope, just the detector, T12. It was absolutely spot on. So now we'll go down to 4 dB on the Cybernet meter, so we're not saturating it. If I have to go any lower than that, it's just over 4. I'll have to change scales. This radio's working so well. I'll just check we're on frequency, because we've just brought it up a fraction. That'll do. Well, you know what? I have made a difference. I'm going to have to change scales. Now, we don't normally go onto the 0.3 scale. I'm now tuning it at 0.18. Fraction of difference there. Fraction of difference there. Get the extra circuit in this one. Put more signal on for this. Put less signal on. Next one's going to want more signal. Less signal. And the hidden one under there. More signal. Less signal. That's where we should be. Right, we'll read that one off. So 12 dB is now 0.4. So tiny improvement. 10 dB is now 0.3. Might get an extra 6 inches this radio. And 20 dB is still 1. So we'll do the squelch. So I'm going to turn the squelch to full. That I've got it on 30 microvolts on the attenuator. Just show you the attenuator. We've got that on 30. I'm just going to turn the squelch preset, which is there, to squelch it out. See if it comes in as 100. It does. So that's now reset. So tight is now 100 microvolts, which is where I want it. Now we'll park the signal generator again at 0.3 of a microvolt, set the threshold on the radio, switch the squelch back on, switch the signal generator back on. I hope I do better than that. That's 1.1 microvolts, that's rubbish. Let's do that again. Switch the signal generator back to off standby. That's better. So it's coming in at 0.32. And it leaves about 0.24, so that'll do scratchy corner nicely. S meter, 100 microvolts on the signal generator, and it's nearly spot on. I'll just give it the slightest little tweak. It was 90 microvolts. So the switches. So with a different tone on. I can't tell. Dimmer works. I think the tone one wants a bit of service on in it. Channel 9's working. So to deal with this, so we've done the radio. I'll just turn it off at the power supply. To deal with this, we'll need to pull this knob off. I might need to go to the organ workshop and get a ball of string to do this. Just wonder if I can get a bit of wire underneath it. I doubt that's going to help on this one. Don't call me fingers for nothing, you know. So between wrapping a bit of wire around. So what we need to do is to actually get some light oil or WD-40 actually onto that shaft and let it soak in probably overnight. I'll do these on camera for once. So with the service hole, just want to see if we can improve that switch. And then the partly frozen volume control. Now we'll let it just with the one. I'm just going to put the knob on lightly. Tell you what, we'll just do the service all on this because you never know. So this is going to have to soak in overnight, so it's not going to have an instant effect. We'll just put another one down that side. Now I've just a bit of an eye-opener here. This has got the bigger speaker in it. Instead of the 3-inch speaker, it's got the 3.5-inch speaker. So it's the same speaker used as used in the Harvard 420M, the Midland 76900 base station, and the Binatone 5-star. And I didn't realise the bigger speaker was in the Fidelity 2000, because you don't get this in any of the Rotels or the Yorks. Wow. There you are, folks. Always just a little bit tight, these wires. Of course, as ever, I'm trying to put it on the wrong way. I've not screwed the screws in, we'll just put the power back on. Now you can hear the difference. And that is already a little slacker. So we'll go over to the internal speaker, which will be even about if you want to hear something if I plug the mic in. Right, we'll put the screws back in. Now, some of these were a bit rusty, so I'm not trying to sell him screws, but I'll put those two in. That original one there was so rusty that I struggled to get it out. We'll put two new screws in the other side. They're all of 6p each. Well, they used to be 6p each. I'm probably charging less than they cost me. This isn't the right screwdriver for these, really, and I'll tighten them up with the right screwdriver later. I'm going to have to slacken that off. It's not quite on right this case. There we go. Right, we'll put it on the aerial and we'll see whether at 8:10 in the evening there's any good, bad or indifferent buddies out there playing gramophone records and swearing and trying their burners out. One and a Roger. Absolutely nobody. They're either walking the dog, watching the telly, talking to the wife, or what. So there we are. A very nice, wants a bit of a clean on the front, CB2000 Fidelity, and we've learned it has the bigger speaker. Thank you for watching.